Hello guys, so I am finally back from my super long winter hiatus and with a Tim Burton inspired look. I hope that you enjoy it. Thank you guys so much for watching and let's just get into it. I'm starting off with the lower half. Here I'm applying a white water-activated body paint with a fluffy face brush, and since I wanted just sort of a light wash, this brush gives quite a quick application and allows me to blend out the color where I need to. I'm blending it out a bit about halfway up the neck, and you'll want to apply this as far down and as far back onto the shoulders as you'd like. I'm then taking a medium pink eyeshadow on a flat, rounded eyeshadow brush to create the flowers on her dress. What I'm doing here is pressing on a majority of the pigment where I want the outside of each petal to be to help define the shape, then dragging in and letting the colors start to fade in toward the center of the flower. Then just shaping each petal as I want to, and you can do the same. These don't need to all be the same size or shape or perfectly even. I made some with less petals, some with both big and tiny petals, some more pigmented than others. Just go for it and create as many as you'd like to over the entire white area. I add more pigment as I go where I feel like needs it, and using the face brush that I used for the white to help flick away any fallout. So here's what all my little flowers look like, and then I went over with a very light wash of the white paint over top using that same brush, again applying it kind of unevenly so some areas are a tad bit whiter than others. Using a cool toned dark brown eyeshadow, I'm shading a bit around the back of the shoulders and down the arms to contour and add a bit of dimension. Shading under the arms onto the chest slightly as well, building up that color and deepening the shadows as much as you'd like. Then moving on to the face, I've put in my white Scleras from Samhain to start, then applying a white cream makeup to the entire face. You can see here I've blocked my brows out already as well. I decided to use the Real Techniques beauty sponge to stipple this on, and it's not damp, but it's not totally dry either because I'd washed it a bit before filming this, and I'm using the smaller flat end to apply it to the tighter areas around the eyes and nose. Also blending down onto the neck to meet the white paint, then blending around the eyes here again just before powdering to help get rid of the creasing. Then I'm using the same sponge to press on a generous amount of powder to the lids and brow area. Then I almost forgot, but I'm lining the lower waterline with a white eyeliner using my sponge to pull down on the skin a bit so we don't disturb the makeup. And I'm trying to blend that down into the white cream, then setting that in place by packing on a white eyeshadow, again gently blending down into the cream. Then I'm continuing on powdering the rest of the white cream makeup, again with a nice generous amount. Any colorless or white powder you have will work great. But once I had all the powder applied, I used a big, clean, fluffy powder brush to brush away the excess. Now with a sky blue eyeshadow on a detail brush, I'm outlining the eye shapes. I knew I wanted to try and camouflage my nose, so I started there and I have the bottom line hit right at the top of the nostrils. You can make this slightly bigger or smaller, and you'll just want to play with the shape and see what works and looks best on your nose. I'm extending my top lash line out a bit and lining just below the lower lash line to create bigger eyes. I made each side slightly different, but you can make them symmetrical if you want to. Then I'm lining along the top lash line as well. Referencing the original image, I added eyes first where I knew for sure that I wanted them, on the cheeks, between the brows, and on the forehead. If you want fewer eyes, you can make them a bit on the bigger side or smaller if you want even more. They can be all different sizes and shapes as well. At this point, I decided to start contouring and shading a bit to see where I wanted to place the rest of the eyes, and I'm using the same blue eyeshadow on a contour brush. I started contouring just about where I normally would on the cheeks, blending down toward the corners of the mouth, and then also shaded down from there and on the jawline since I wanted to really thin out the jawline and bring the chin to more of a point. I also applied this along the dividing line on the neck, shading up from there and into the contours of the neck and under the chin. I didn't want to add too much contour around the forehead to keep it nice and round to mimic the shape of her head, which is big and rounded at the top and very thin and tapered at the bottom. I decided to add the pupils in here to see more of the eye effect, and I'm just using a black eyeshadow on a detail brush for this. From there, I can now see, get it? I could see where I wanted to place the rest of the eyes. I added a few more to the cheeks and one on either side of the brow area, adjusting the size and angle to fit them in. Then shadowed in the pupils to the new ones. To define the eye shapes more, I went in with the cool toned dark brown eyeshadow on a detail brush and applied that over the original blue lines. And this doesn't need to look nice and neat here, just quickly lining around. I added a bit more blue shading around the eyes with a fluffy crease brush, then decided I needed one more eye in that little blank area, so added that in following all the same steps. Now I'm starting to add more of the blue over the entire face, using mainly the contour brush to stipple on and blend, starting out light and then building up the color as I see fit, intentionally leaving it looking quite splotchy and uneven. I'm then going in with a much darker blue eyeshadow to deepen and intensify some of the shading and contours. I'm keeping it mainly around the outside of the face and then also shading around from the back of the neck to make it look a bit thinner. I started going back and forth between the sky and dark blues a bit, then decided to shade out pretty much the entire jawline, so I brought the cheek contour all the way down to the chin and again went back and forth, stippling and blending the two blue eyeshadows. I then added in some black eyeshadow to really contour and black out the jawline, blending that up into the blue. This looks quite odd, especially with the hair up, but looks much better with a long wig on, since it naturally will cast a shadow onto the face and jawline. Going back in with the sky blue, I'm applying more to the eye area and into the crease, then switched to a smaller defined crease brush to shade around all the eye shapes. I'm applying most of the color right around the eyes and then stippling and blending the color out onto the white base. If you blocked out your brows, you may need to build up the eyeshadow more since the glued down areas don't hold the pigment the same as the rest of the skin. And just add as much blue here as you want to. Now to really define the eye shapes, I'm using a black liquid eyeliner pen, outlining each eye and also darkening the pupils. I'm going pretty quickly through these, just letting any mistakes and unevenness happen. When I started, I didn't realize this eyeliner had a slightly thicker side to the applicator as you change angles, but I just decided to go with it and let it be. This look for me was kind of more about letting myself go with the flow more and just enjoy the process rather than worrying about every single detail, which you guys know how much of a perfectionist I am, so this was pretty hard but also really good for me. Once all the eyes were lined, I used the same liner for all the lashes, about 5 or 6 straight lashes on top and bottom for each eye. Some are longer, shorter, thinner, thicker. You can do whatever floats your boat here. The eye on the nose is the trickiest, and it's one of those things where it looks the best from one angle. So you'll want to look straight on in the mirror as you do it so you can tell what it's going to look like from the front, especially if you're just going to be taking photos in it. I extended the 2 top outer lashes out further than the others, and I didn't show this very well, but I took one bottom lash through each nostril again to help camouflage my nose. This is also going to vary depending on the shape of your nose, so again, you just want to work with it a bit until you're happy with it. I continued on with the rest of the lashes, then lined around my actual eye shape with the black liner. I hadn't noticed that the recording cut off before this next part, so my bad, but for the top lashes, I kept my eyes open and lined down lightly where I wanted each lash so I could mark it, and then I closed my eyes to fully line them. These lines ended up pretty terrible, especially on the one side, so I sat with it for a while because I couldn't decide if I wanted to fix them or just let it be. So while I stewed on that for a while, I applied a dark kind of plum red liquid lipstick to my lips, overdrawing and giving myself a more defined Cupid's bow. Then with that applied, I added a bit of a brighter metallic red liquid lipstick to mainly the center of the lips, stippling along the edges with both red shades to help blend them into each other, and then I added a bit more of the metallic red just at the center for a super pretty pop, and also used my finger to blend the two colors together. With a black eyeliner, I created a crooked little smile from the corners of the mouth, then connected those with my lip line, not fully lining all the way around the bottom lip, kind of thinning it out toward the center. I also darkened the very outer lip area and used my finger again to blend it a bit into the red. Then I put on my wig. This one is a lace front from Uniwigs, and once I had that on, I shaded a bit around the lace with the sky blue eyeshadow to help blend it into the forehead. Then finally, I decided to clean up just some of the eyelash lines that were super bothering me. So to do that, I applied a little of the white water-activated body paint with a detail brush, kind of trying to blend it out as I go, and then later, if needed, applied some of the sky blue eyeshadow. I went back in with the black liner to redefine any lines, then since the liner around my own eyes was thicker than the rest, I decided to thicken all the eye shape outlines. I went in with one final go around with the sky blue eyeshadow on a small crease brush, adding more color where I felt like needed it. And then the final thing was to brighten up the whites of the eyes using the white body paint, then again redefining any of the black lines and pupils where needed. Then after that, we are done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this look and the video. If you did, be sure to subscribe, and if you would like to, turn on notifications as well. That would be awesome. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.